Okay, good morning and welcome to chapter 32 of The Real Me. We've moved on to the last section of this book. It's called So Very Close to You. Serving Hashem happily at all times. There's 5 chapters here. Most of it talks about the different Yom Tovim, different periods on the Jewish calendar, and how to approach it from, again, this book is talking basically people who are ensconced in yeshiva and kollel, or Bachram in yeshiva, Haredi sector, but it has relevance to all of us. Chapter 32 is titled Chag Shavuos. Shavuos. Now, he says people, again, remember, this is talking mostly for people that are learning in yeshiva. If you don't learn it in a hardcore yeshiva, you probably wouldn't experience what he's talking about. But he said there's 2 different approaches that people have to the holiday of Shavuos. The first version is Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the Mashkiach. I'm quoting from the book here. Rosh Hashiva gives his shmuz on the upcoming day of Matan Torah. He mentions the famous words of Shlach HaKadosh that Shavuos is the Yom HaDin of Torah. It's a day of judgment, like Rosh Hashanah for Torah. The entire year of learning is now at stake. According to how we strengthen our connection with Torah in the upcoming days, that's how much we will merit gaining understanding and knowledge in the Torah this following year. This is an opportunity to merit everlasting life that only a fool would ignore. 2 days pass, and we are standing at the beginning of Shlosh Yemei Agbola. The atmosphere in yeshiva is heating up. Many accept upon themselves a tiniest dibur. If you don't know what a tiniest dibur is, basically means that you don't talk the whole day. Just like you don't eat a tiniest achila. You don't talk. It's gavaldik. Tiniest dibur, I don't always talk about it. The yearning to merit Torah is a flame. There is no idle conversation they're learning. A cell phone, don't even mention it. It's Erev Shavuos, so of course you're not going to mention it because you have those kosher phones, not too exciting. It's Erev Shavuos morning after breakfast, and everyone is sitting down to learn. Well, by now, all are keeping a tiny dibur. I don't know what yeshiva this is in. I was in a lot of yeshivas. No one was doing tiny. Maybe one weird person was doing tiny dibur, not the whole yeshiva. The atmosphere is heavy. By the afternoon, we all rush to prepare for the Yom Tov at high speed. 2 hours before this moment, we are sitting on our shtenders to accept the Yom Tov with Torah learning. Wherever you look, you see serious faces. On Tamarav, as the holy day begins, one can feel the strain in the air. It's exactly like Rosh Hashanah. What a pleasure. After this field, we rush to eat the Suda quickly, since after all, the Gemara is waiting. The Suda is over, and we turn to the Beis Medrash to learn for 4.5 hours straight. The Beis Medrash is packed, and we're sitting and learning with all our might. At about 4:30, we get to prepare for davening for a short and spirited dance. We are all bleary-eyed, weary, and hoarse, but happy we successfully learned the way we should. By the bracha of Abba Rabba, we raise our voices to Hashem, asking Him to have mercy on us and to bestow upon us knowledge and understanding. The air is electric. It's almost like Ne'ilah. That's the first version. He says at the end, if you can identify with what you read until now, do not read on. It's simply not meant for you. Basically, the author is saying, Gavaldik, if you can do this, it's the best thing in the world. Now, second version. Now we'll describe a second version of what Shavuos can be like. A week before Yom Tov, the pressure begins to be felt. The Yom Din of Torah is getting close. In anticipation of this great day, we try to strengthen our keeping the Siddharim, making a tiniest dibur, and other measures. We don't succeed, however, since we're not used to it, and it's hard to change it. It's hard, tiniest dibur. It's hard not to talk. It's harder not to talk than not to eat. The failures can cause frustration and disappointment. We try to be mechazik and make up the following day, trying to calm our conscience. The new resolutions all shatter on the rocks of reality. Our conscience is screaming louder and louder. On the morning of Erev Shavuos, a Satan is active, and we are overwhelmed with so many things to take care of. You have to run errands, shop in the supermarket, right? Marry you guys. You have a place to be on an auspicious day, in parentheses. Help at home, and it's almost the afternoon. The conscience is having a heyday. Later in the day, we try to take a nap. We couldn't take a nap. After the suit, we sit down and learn we are already tired from the accumulated tiredness of the afternoon, a heavy meal, and the lateness of the hour. From one side, the tiredness threatens to take over. The other, our conscience threatens to overcome. At 1 a.m, our eyelids are threatening to shut down by force. We stubbornly resist and try to keep them open while we keep checking the clock, which doesn't seem to move. The rest of the time, we are busy with a futile attempt to continue the mishmar. We enlist in our battle large cups of bitter black coffee because they had meat for the meal and you can't have dairy. Occasional snacks at the kitchen, a few cat naps here and there, dousing our faces with water, parentheses, when no one is looking, and some trips outdoors for air. Basically, he failed the second version. He can't keep it up. He's not one of these people who can do a tiniest dibur. He can't. It's hard for him to learn the whole night. What should we do? What's this second person? The author says the first person. That's amazing. You should do that. If you can't do that, what should we say? So, bid di'evid, like he always, bid di'evid, let's analyze it. Like Gemara Pesachim says, everyone agrees The Gemara in Pesachim says that you have to have for you, even though it's machlokas in the Gemara, whether Yom Tov is meant for Hashem or for you enjoying it. We paskin that Rabbi Yeshua, part of it for Hashem, part of it for you. Everyone, even Rabbi Lezer, who says that you can do either for Hashem, entirely for Hashem or entirely for you, he says even Rabbi Lezer has modeh that on Shavuos you need to have an aspect of doing it for you, which is enjoying it. Right? The Gemara relates that Rav Sheshes gave instructions to slaughter a prime calf for this day. Right? People would eat it on this day. There's an idea of materialism being, physically, even though we're spending the whole night learning Torah. And I once gave a Dvar Torah on this, on Shavuos night, actually, in yeshiva. I explained this Gemara. I said, what's the idea that Hakol Ba'inan Lacha, everyone Hakol Modim Shabinan Lachem, that you need materialism on Shavuos, because the Torah was given, the Gemara in Shabbos says, based on the fact that we have parents, based on the fact that we have physical mitzvahs, physical things in this world. The mitzvahs are all related to the physical world. And the Malachim said, we should want the Torah. Why should give it to us and to the people? And Moshe Rabbeinu said, you have parents, you have the kibbut avim, you have food that you have pork that you can't eat. So materialistic things play into this world. So the whole purpose of the Torah is laws of materialism. So, right, like I mentioned, the Torah is to keep the mitzvahs, not just learn Torah for its own sake. So the mitzvahs are materialistic things. So Shavuos is the day we got the Torah, which tells us about materialism and the restrictions or the things we're supposed to give importance to in the materialistic world. And Malachim can't relate to that. They're spiritual beings. Physical beings are into the materialism and need to be into materialism because of the Torah. So therefore you have to eat. You have to engage in materialism on Shavuos, delectable food, good food, delicious food, because you have to enjoy the fact that you're a materialistic person, and that's why we're zocheh to have the Torah. So at the end of the day, he says, seemingly to console the second segment of people that can't keep up with this diligent schedule, that it's okay because it's supposed to be a materialistic day, and you shouldn't be so worried on it. If you're worried on it, like he says at the end, rejoicing on Yom Tov, you're supposed to, there's a mitzvah, but the Shlah says, besides the fact that it's a Yom HaDin, you're also supposed to have happiness. This applies on Shavuos, just like it applies on Pesach and on Sukkot. And you're ruining the whole idea of the Yom Tov by not being happy over here, being so worried and staying at 1 o'clock and going, and falling asleep and waking up. Better just to go to sleep for the whole night. That's what I do. I don't stay up the whole night anymore. Once I realize that I'm a materialistic person, I go to sleep just like any other night. I daven 8:30 in the morning. I don't stay up the whole night. Really, the idea of staying up the whole night is not brought down in the Gemara. It's not brought down in any halachic svarim. It's only brought down later achronim, Kabbalah and stuff. It's really from the Kabbalah. I think the reason people stay up because the Mishnah Berurah quotes from one of the Chaim Volozhin or something like that says, or the Arizal, it goes from the Arizal, that anyone who stays up the whole night doesn't even sleep for one moment will not have any nezek happen. It won't have any bad things happen in the whole year. When I was in yeshiva in my younger years, I always thought about the Mishnah Berurah. I'm like, I want to have a good year. I don't want any nezek happen to me. So I stayed up. I made sure, and every year that my eyelids closed because I was very tired, something bad happened to me. So during that year, so I really took it to heart. Until a couple of years ago, I just gave up on it, and I don't really remember bad things or good things that happened, because once you get married, there's so many things that happen, more things than when you're single. So I had some bad things, some good things, I don't know, but anyway, I don't really care so much about this anymore. Anyway, so where did Arizal get that from? I have no idea. Some Kabbalah or something like that. The point is that he says, he gives a mashal over here, he gives a parable over here. He says, it's considered, Shavuos is considered Yom Chasunah, so it's like your anniversary, right? We got married to Hashem through the Torah on Har Sinai. So imagine you have an anniversary, a husband comes home, he has a present for his wife, and he comes to the door, and his wife opens the door, and he says Mazel Tov on our anniversary, and she says Mazel Tov, and she comes to the table, and a beautiful spread at the table. He says a lace tablecloth, fancy dishes, bouquet of flowers as a centerpiece, and he's so happy, and she's so hurried, she's so worried. She's closing the air conditioner, opening the air conditioner, turning on the air conditioner, turning off the air conditioner. Is the weather good for you? Does the food taste good? Should I put it back on the flame? Is the drink cold enough? Is the drink hot enough? You want your slippers, the salt. and she looks hurried, she looks worried. She's not enjoying her own anniversary. She's so worried about the husband. He's the king in the house. So he's happy with what's going. He bought a nice present. He bought 100 shekel. He bought her, the silver pair of earrings. Not 925. 485, whatever it is, the percentage of silver in it, of actual silver in the earrings. But she's very worried. She's not enjoying it. She's not enjoying it. It's the anniversary. She should be enjoying it. She should sit down to eat with her husband. She shouldn't be so worried. And the same thing over here. You shouldn't be so worried. You shouldn't be so nervous on Shavuos, because at the end of the day, even though it is Yom Hadin, but it's also, the Shalah does say that it's a day of happiness, and we have to be happy on Shavuos. So he says, at the conclusion, he says, but if the great effort of learning is above his abilities, and the pressure and the fear of Yom Hadin is ruining his simplest Yom Tov, then it's not a mitzvah but an avera. If you can live up to the hype, you can live up to the Yira Shamayim of Shavuos and dedicate your entire day and night to learning Torah and to Yira Shamayim, so then you should. But if it's too hard for you, then it's an avera. The mitzvah is said on Shavuos as well, and he has no right to neglect it. So he basically categorizes into two different people. If you're able to withstand the pressure and the holiness of the day, you should do so. If not, realize it's not Nagecha. Now, for me, it's hard to understand. You could break it down two categories. What the Torah was talking to two different people. The Torah talked about Shavuos. The Torah says, it's called it Atzeres. It talks about Samach B'Keyecha. It was talking to two different people. People who are able to sit and learn the whole day, to eat very little. I think they quote from one of the Sfarim. What is that sefer called? The sefer that's very Kabbalistic sefer, talks about preparing for Yom Tov, Eretz Yom Tov. I used to read this a lot. It says you should eat very little. It was written by 100 years ago, 200 years ago. I forgot the name of the sefer now. Anyway, he says at the Shavuos meal at night, eat very little. You don't want to fall asleep at all. If you could do that, that's great. That's the best, he says. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to understand. If it's Samach B'Keyecha, it applies equally to everyone. The Gemara in Pesachim says, "Akol modim shebeinu nami lachem." You need lachem. You need materialism on Shavuos. That applies equally to everyone. It wasn't an Amaretz who was saying that. It was Rav Sheshes, one of the biggest Rabbanim, who was saying that. He obviously, Rav Sheshes, he could have learned all night, and he said, "Akol nami b'ani." Everyone agrees. You need lachem. You need materialism on Shavuos. As I mentioned, the whole idea, it really all stems from the night of learning. That there's 3 times in halacha where it says it's supposed to stay up all night. One time, which is actually from the Gemara, where it says on the night of Pesach, the night of the Seder, it's supposed to say Ad shekataf toshena, until sleep overtakes you. Maybe midaraisa, as part of the mitzvah of Zechirias Yitzias Mitzrayim, you have to stay up the entire night until you get too tired, because it's counterproductive to learn about Yitzias Mitzrayim when you're falling asleep. Hoshana Rabbah, it's coming up. That's mentioned more. I don't know if it's exactly from Kabbalah. I don't know where the source is, but that's more well-sourced than the night of Shavuos, which is the third most important night, to stay up all night, which is really, the Mishnah Berurah explains this from the Arizal or from later Kabbalah Sfarim. It's not really brought down anywhere in the Gemara and anywhere in Halacha. Some people have the minhag even to stay 2 nights of Shavuos. If you live in America, you have Shavuos for 2 days. I actually did that one year. I stayed 2 nights of Shavuos. I thought I was really the best over there. Not only 1 night, but 2 nights of Shavuos. I stayed up the entire night learning. I thought it was going to be a great year of learning. I don't remember if it was a great year. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I was very proud of myself to do that. Most people don't stay up the second night, at least in the yeshiva I was in. So I was very happy with myself. But the point is that it's not real. There's no real clear source for this. It is brought down by the later Achronim, but I don't think it's a big avera not to stay up the whole night. It's really not. I mean, if you don't have to follow Kabbalah. You're not supposed to learn Kabbalah until you're 4 years old. So, if you don't follow Kabbalah, it's not. You don't have to do Al Ched on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur for that. I personally don't stay up the whole night. I go to sleep like a regular night. Try to learn a little bit extra, because that's the minhag, is to learn a little bit extra Torah. It is actually the day that we got the Torah, Kabbalah and Torah, so I try to learn a little extra before I go to sleep. But maybe an extra Mishnah, 2 Mishnayos, that's it. Go to sleep and treat it like every other Yom Tov. And I want to add one thing, that the Torah actually called Shavuos Atzeres. Atzeres That's another way of Atzeres, of calling Shavuos Atzeres. I think we say in the Shemona Esrei Shavuos and call it Atzeres. Pesach is not called Atzeres. Sukkot is not called Atzeres, but Shavuos is called Atzeres. Atzeres means stopping. Shmini Atzeres is also called Atzeres in the Torah. Yom Kippur is also called Atzeres. These days of stopping, meaning up until then you're going at a fast-paced, breakneck speed. There's Sfiras HaOmer leading up to Shavuos. Yom Kippur, you have Aseret Yimei Tshuva. Sukkot is a very busy holiday. You're involved with the Sukkot, with Dal and Minim. Shmini Atzeres, Hashem says stop. The Ramban says that Atzeres is like the end of the Chol HaMoed of between Pesach and Shavuos. It's like the 49 days of Sfira is like Chol HaMoed. So Atzeres is stop, slow down. Not put your foot on the gas pedal like he's talking about. The first group of people who are able to sit and learn and do a tiniest dibur for 3 days and learn not only the whole night, but then have a small dairy kiddush, go to sleep for a couple hours, eat their meal, and then learn the rest of the day. No, you're supposed to slow down, and it's a Yom Tov. That's what Shavuos is. Samach leB'chagecha applies just as much on Shavuos as it applies on Pesach and Sukkot. And there's a mitzvah of Simcha. And when you're in a state of Yiras Shamayim, it's hard for me to say that you're b'simcha. When you're very fearful, when you're staying up all night, you're forcing yourself. I've done this many years. For many years, I stayed up and I forced myself. And some years, I really learned really well on the night of Shavuos. It's exciting. There's a thrill in the base medrash. Everyone's staying up. What I describe as happiness? No, it's far from happiness. A lot of pressure. I wouldn't say it's happiness, and I can't. It's hard for me to say that Samach B'Gecha. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't stay up the entire night. If that's what everyone else is doing, and you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't take it so seriously. If you're in the middle of your learning during the night, go get a coffee. I know some people won't even leave to get a coffee in the middle of the night, to get some cake. I know some shuls in more the mono-Orthodox sector. They have pancakes, they have egg stations, omelet stations. Go get those things. Enjoy yourself. Stay up the whole night. So you're gonna sleep during the day. You'll learn at night. So you can do that. But at least enjoy yourself with materialism, right? Go get those omelets. Go get those pancakes. Go get those rugelach. Have a nice cup of coffee. Make sure to have a milchik meal so you can have a milchik's coffee. You can have milk in your coffee. Who enjoys a black coffee? So, so that's basically what I have to say about Shavuos. It's hard for me to say that there's two different types of people. I think even the people that are able to take on these extra stringencies upon themselves should not take on the extra stringencies upon themselves. No tiniest dibur. I don't think that's a good thing. Tiniest dibur is never a good thing, I don't think. And I think you should just be happy, and you should enjoy it. If you want to stay up all night, enjoy yourself, especially with the materialism in the middle of the night. And that's all I have to say about this. It should be a happy day. It should be Atzeres. It should be a day where you cool down a little bit. You stop, right? You made tshuva. You stop on Yom Kippur. Don't be so serious. Don't daven in shul for 10 hours. Crazy how long they daven Yom Kippur. And Shmini Atzeres, cool down a little bit from your sukkahs and your hallels. I give shiurim here now. It's 1 o'clock here. I try to give shiurim. Try to learn the base medrash 11 o'clock, 11:30. People are still davening. They're doing the Hoshana at 11:30. It's ridiculous. Like at 10 o'clock, your Hoshana should stop. You have to be done with this. People are davening for 4 hours every day of sukkahs. It's crazy. Atzeres, Shmini Atzeres, cool down a little bit. Enjoy yourself. Relax. Thursday, relax. That's what I have to say about Shavuos. Hope you enjoyed today's shiur. And because Shmini Atzeres is coming up, Atzeres is also called Atzeres. Try to cool down on Atzeres. Enjoy yourself. Dance nicely. Eretz Shel Simchas Torah is the same day as Shmini Atzeres. Have some fun dancing. Relax. Have a drink. Have a l'chaim. Don't be so serious. When I got married, I took my wife to my old yeshiva in Beitar for Simchas Torah. After we got married, it was about 3 months after we were married, and the day of Simchas Torah, literally in my yeshiva, my old yeshiva, my former yeshiva, they literally did not finish whatever they were doing the entire morning. They started it very early in the morning, 7 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning. Down Shachas, must have had a kiddush. They did all the other stuff about laning and kafos and brachos and weird agba. I don't know what they did. They finished literally at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We did not sit down to our meal till 5 o'clock. I ate by my Rosh Yeshiva. I asked him to come for a meal. And Al-Ma'ariv was ready at 5:45 because it was early or something like that. They changed the clock, I think, that year. So we had the entire meal from 5 o'clock to 5:45. And this was the meal I anticipated for many years when I was going at Shidducha. I wanted to bring my wife to my Rosh Yeshiva's house. She had a horrible time that Simchas Torah. She vowed, and I vowed never to go again. Who wants to stay? She didn't eat a meal. You didn't have anything, and the women barely get anything at the Kiddush. The men get a lot more at the Kiddush. One barely can scrape a potato barek or a chocolate rugel off one of them. She has to wait in hunger from 5 o'clock on Shmini Atzeres, the day where you're supposed to be relaxed, supposed to enjoy yourself. It's Mr. Simchas Yom Tov. It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's ridiculous. This is a byproduct of Rosh Hashanah davening way too long. Yom Kippur davening way too long. Sukkot davening way too long. Shana Rabbah way too long. And then those hakafos on Simchas Torah is the grand finale of ridiculous amounts of time people spend on these things. Be normal. Stop it. It's too much already. And, based on that, we've both vowed never to go back for anything back to my old yeshiva. It was one of the worst experiences ever, both for me and my wife. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.